Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. And please turn to page 10, and we're going to sing Ma Yafeh Hayom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Well, good Shabbos, everybody. Thank you for joining us here this evening at Congregation Or Tzafon. I am Bill Alexander, your service leader, and I would like to start off our Friday night service by reading a prayer called Entering Shabbat. It's by Maya Conrad. As we enter this sacred time of Shabbat, may Adonai help us put aside our stresses of daily life and absorb the calm of this holy moment. As Shabbat begins, may Adonai revive our ability to feel the infinite potential this ceasing effort affords us. To regather to our scattered selves in the hallowed space Shabbat creates, may Adonai refresh our connections to our loved ones and community, expanding the threads which bind us together. So please rise and join me on page 2 for the lighting of the Shabbat candles. Oops. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. And please turn to page 5 and join me, remain standing and join me for the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu zicharon lemahaseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kadshecha b'yahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Please be seated. And let's turn to page 12 and really belt out a round of Lechuna Ranana. Lechuna ranana, lechuna rana lahadonai. Lechuna ranana, lechuna ranana, lechuna rana lahadonai. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, nekad mafanav bitodah. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, Bizmirot narialo, lechuranana, lechunaranana, lechunaranana lahadonai, lechunaranana, lechunaranana, lechunarana lahadonai. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. Now, let's turn to, let me see, I think, let's do Lechadodi. Let's turn to page 20, and let's sing Lechadodi. Lechadodi likrat kala, panei Shabbat nekabala. 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 Shamor v'zikur b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu elcham yuchad, Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, L'shem ultiferet v'litilam. Lechadodi, Lechadodi likrat kala, panei Shabbat nekabala. Lechadodi likrat kala, panei Shabbat nekabala. Likrat Shabbat lechuvanilcha, ki himecho bracha meherosh nichadem en sucha sof maseh b'machashava techila. Lechadodi likrat kala, panei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nikabala. Bohui vishalom ataret bala. Gam simcha uvtsochola tohoche munei am segulam. Bohi chala Lecha dodi likrat kala. Panei Shabbat nikabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Panei Shabbat nikabala. Please be seated. Okie dokie. So I'd like to read a poem by Alden Solovi. It's called For the Arrival of Shabbat. Well of life, bless my heart with the gifts of Shabbat. The presence of your love in my pulse, your glory in my chest, and your wonder in my breath. Bless my eyes with the gifts of Shabbat, seeing the beauty of the candlesticks, the Kiddush cups, and the chalot. Bless my lips with the gifts of Shabbat, rejoicing in song and prayer, singing melodies ancient and new. Bless my ears with the gifts of Shabbat, hearing hymns and praises, the nigunim of old, and blessed words of Torah. Bless my soul with the gifts of Shabbat, awe and thanksgiving, calm and surrender, beauty, righteousness, and peace. Let these gifts descend gently on all your people, Israel, so that together, wherever we may be in one voice, from the four corners of the earth, we sing, Boachem la shalom, come in peace. Malachei ha-shalom, messengers of peace. Malachei elyon, angels of the Most High. So let's turn to page 24 and sing Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And please continue with me on the bottom of page 24, and let's read responsibly. Peace be to you, O ministering angels, messengers of the Most High, Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Enter in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High, Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Bless me with peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High, Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Depart in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High, Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. So let's turn to page 26 and join me in reading the Hebrew for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Bialma divrach hirute, Biamlich malkute, B'chayechon uvyomechon, Uvchaye de kol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv, V'imru. Amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach, le'alam ul almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitroman, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemeda kudusha b'richu, leila min kol birchata, v'risharata, tushbachata, v'nechamata, da amiran bialma, v'imru. Amen. So let's turn to page 28 and rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vahed. You may be seated. Let's turn to page 30, and please join me in reading the Ma'ariv Aravim in English at the bottom of page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Let's turn to page 32 and at the bottom, and join me in reading the Ahavat Olam in English. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Let's turn to page 34 and join me in singing the Shema. Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Le'olam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please turn to page 36 and join me as we read in Hebrew the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol ma'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam la'ot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha lama'an tizkaru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kidoshim lelochechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeti etchem me'eretz mitzrayim liot lachem lelochim ani Adonai Elohechem. And let's turn to page 40, and let's sing Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nehedar b'chodesh. No ra tehilot oseh fele, no ra tehilot oseh fele. Okay, let's turn to page 44 and rise as we sing the Shamru. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lahasot et ha-Shabbat lidoratam barit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lahasot et ha-Shabbat lidoratam barit olam. Veini uvein b'nei Yisrael, ohot hit le'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lahazot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamin asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et ha'oretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lahasot et hashabat lidoratam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'yanafash, Shabbat v'yanafash, Shabbat v'yanafash, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lahasot et ha-Shabbat lidoratam barit olam. May be seated. Oh, excuse me. No, we're supposed to remain standing for the tefillah. My apologies. Okay. So join me on page 46 for the tefillah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilateka. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. So let's remain standing, and this is our opportunity for individual prayer and meditation. We're going to continue to page 62, and when you're done praying, before we go to Oseh Shalom on page 62, you can be seated, and then we'll get started with Oseh Shalom. Let's turn to page 62 at the bottom and sing O Say Shalom. Oh, say shalom bin romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Whenever I sit down to compose a drash for my upcoming Friday night service, I'm reminded how inspirational the Torah can be in unanticipated ways. As I read the weekly parashat and cross-reference various commentaries, I'm reminded how often the search for personal truth can be a convoluted path. This is especially true when I'm trying to find some modern interpretation of the Bible's text that applies to my life and gives meaning to my practice of Judaism. Tonight, I'm going to take you through my reading of this week's parashat called Shimini. It's Leviticus 9:1 through 11:47. It led me to some unexpected insights into my understanding of the Kaddish, the mourner's prayer we say at the end of every Friday night service. The book of Exodus ends by describing the construction of the tabernacle, or the tent of the congregation, what we today would call the synagogue. It describes how it is to be designed, ornamented, and built to properly house the Ark of the Covenant. The book of Leviticus begins by telling the story of the dedication of the tabernacle and the ordination of the priests. Parashat Shimini describes in great detail the specific order of how animal sacrifices are to be carried out by the Levites, the Israelites' priestly caste. During the description of these sacrifices, Aaron is identified as the high priest, and he is being assisted by two of his four sons, Nadav and Avihu, who are also priests. It's at this point that the narrative takes an unexpected, violent, and tragic turn. During the consecration of the tabernacle and the initial sacrifices, Nadav and Avihu make a sacrifice of incense. However, because this is a sacrifice initiated by Aaron's sons, but not specifically requested or prescribed by God, these two young men are immediately struck dead by God. The biblical text reads, Now Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, each took a fire pan, laid fire upon it, and offered incense before the Lord, an alien fire, which the Lord had not enjoined upon them. And a fire came forth from God and consumed them. Then Moses says to Aaron, This is what the Lord meant when he said, Through those near to me I show myself holy and gain glory before all the people. And Aaron was silent. What are we to make of Moses' justification of God's capricious exercise of power in the name of his sanctity? What are we to make of Aaron's silence in the face of the tragic loss of two of his sons? We understand that death is an inevitability, but even though our eventual deaths are anticipated, the death of a loved one, a friend, or even an acquaintance can seem to be capricious and random. For me, it sometimes feels as though a person's death comes like a bolt of lightning out of the blue. This was brought home to me recently when I got word of a man's death who I knew from my time at college. He and I were on the football team, and we roomed together during a 6-month stay in France that was part of our university's foreign study abroad program. I last saw him 16 years ago at our younger daughter's graduation from college. The meeting reminded me of what a vital, intelligent, and funny person he was. And even though I lost track of him after that, word of his death took me by surprise. How could Lou, who was so robust, smart, and humorous, have been taken from this world seemingly before his time? Well, I already knew the answer to that question. It's because all too often, the death of someone we know or love seems capricious and takes us completely by surprise. Like Aaron, I took the news of Lou's death in stunned silence. But getting back to the Torah portion, I wonder what was going on in Aaron's mind in the aftermath of his 2 sons' deaths. Why was he silent in the presence of their dead bodies? What were his emotions? The Bible gives us no clue. The narrative continues, however, with Moses' warning Aaron's 2 remaining sons, who are tasked with removing Nadav and Abihu's bodies from the front of the tabernacle, not to, and I quote, "Bury your heads and do not rend your clothes, lest you die and anger strike the whole community." Yeah, this is pretty heartless stuff. However, in my mind, Moses partly redeems himself by immediately saying, "But your kinsmen, all the house of Israel, shall bewail the burning that the Lord has wrought." Needless to say, the commentaries on these few lines in Leviticus are numerous and varied. Some speak to the loneliness and deathly quiet that surrounds and invades a person's grief. Others speak of Aaron's silence as cowardice in the face of his sons' deaths. Initially, I was angry with Moses for seeming to justify God's actions. However, upon multiple rereadings of these few lines and reading 5 or 6 commentaries, I found I came to this understanding. Yes, it sounds as though Moses chastises Aaron for Nadav's and Abihu's temerity in offering God an unbidden sacrifice. But to Aaron's stunned silence at their death, Moses encourages the entire community to mourn out loud with Aaron and his family over their loss. And isn't that what we do as a Jewish community when we stand at the end of our service and say Kaddish? Any one person's death will affect people differently. For family, the grief will be most intense and long-lasting. For friends, the person's death will bring pain, but perhaps not with the intensity of family. And for acquaintances, it may surprise them and make them think hard on their mortality. But all of these people, family, friends, and acquaintances, no matter the depth of their loss, can join together in community to grieve the passing of someone's life. That is the power of community, when we stand, pray together, and say Kaddish. The Kaddish never mentions death. It is, however, a prayer of praise to God and the blessings of life and peace. The Kaddish says, "May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and all Israel," to which we say Amen. And for me, it is in this prayer, affirming the gift of life, that I believe we console the grieving and as a community celebrate the life of the deceased. I hope Aaron was able to take some comfort in the support he received from the community of the Israelites as they shared his grief and mourned the loss of his sons. And I hope those here tonight who are observing the yahrzeit of a loved one find comfort from the COT community when we all rise to say Kaddish at the end of the service. Shabbat Shalom. Now let us turn our prayers to those in our community in need of physical or spiritual healing. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless these members of our community. Robin Cohen, Diana Heller, Rob Hirsch, Leslie Kasanoff, Penina Kolakant, Barbara and Chip Kurtzman, Kit Levine, Sharon Maslow, Rick Moss, Dave Podolsky, Margaret Schmidt, Elliot Schwartz, Cheryl Schellub, John Sitters, Melanie Spielman, Ellen and Michael Weingarten, John Wheaton, and Paul Gans. And now this is an opportunity for the people in the congregation to mention the names of people who they feel might be in need of healing. Send them all comfort and relief speedily in our days, and grant them a complete healing of body, mind, and spirit. Blessed are you, source of life, who helps us to bring light where there is darkness and healing where there is brokenness. Please turn to page 253 and join me for the singing of Mi Sheberach. Mi Sheberach Avotenu Mechor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi Sheberach Imotenu Mechor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Please turn to page 282 and rise and join me at the bottom for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, ladeit gedula le'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyech ha'arotzot, velo samanu kishmishkot ha'adama, shelo sam chelchenu chachem, v'gohor aleinu pechol ha'amonam. V'hanachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'vmodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Okay, let's remain standing through to page 294 for the Kaddish. In the meantime, let's turn to page 287 and sing the Ne'amar. V'ne'amar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad. Let's turn to page 291 and at the bottom, and let's read together in English. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us and for those who are observing the yahrzeit of a loved one. This Shabbat we remember Lenora Bott, mother of Linda Baker, Charlotte Klein, mother of Sylvia Drucker, William Cullen, father of Teresa Hirsch, Pat Robles, sister of David Robles, Bunny Levine, uncle of Rick Moss, Mendez Alfaro, father of Esther Salzman. We take into our hearts all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. And I'd like to invite Linda up to the bima to light the yahrzeit candle. Please turn to page 294 and join me in reciting the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malkute, v'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dekol beit Yisrael, v'agala uvizman kariv v'yamru. Amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mivarach, le'alam al u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Leila min chol birchashata virshata. Tushbechata v'nechamata damiran v'alma v'yamru. Amen. Yehe she shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim Aleinu v'at kol Yisrael v'yamru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'at kol Yisrael v'yamru. Amen. You may be seated. And please turn to page 258 and join me in a prayer for our country at the bottom of page 258. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. Okay. I have some announcements. Birthdays. Ben Alexander has a birthday on Sunday, March 27th, and Rita Becker has a birthday on Monday, March 28th. And we have upcoming anniversaries for anniversary for Naomi and David Blakely on Tuesday, March 29th. So at this time, I would like to thank all of the people who made this service and live stream possible. Cindy Dixon-Levine, our wonderful pianist, and Kira, who's running the live stream tonight, Nakshon Margalit, Leslie Moss, and all of the members of our congregation who helped by leading our Friday night services. Shabbat Shalom. Let's turn to page 321, and let's end the service with Adon Olam. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, L'Teit Nasa, V'chepso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Ma, Adon, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yeyeh B'tifara Adon Olam, Olam Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, L'Teit Nasa, Pepska Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Ehu Echad V'ein Sheni, Laham Shelo L'Chapira Adon Olam, Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, V'lo Ha'oz V'chap Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, L'Teit Nasa, V'chepso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Eli, V'chai Goali, V'tzur Chavit T'teit Tizat Adon Olam, V'hu Nisi, Umanos Li, Menat Kosi Bayom Ekra Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, L'Teit Nasa, V'chepso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, B'yado Afkid Ruchi, Be'in Ishan Va'ira Adon Olam, Ve'im Ruchi, Gevit Bati, Adon Olam. I'm still working on that one. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight.